Abhi, I'm excited to have you here today. Abhi Chopra, you are the CEO and founder of BQP. And let's make sure we got this right here because this is a complex company. You're building next generation solutions to help solve computational challenges in aerospace, in space overall, defense, by using quantum powered platform,
Mm-hmm.
right? Quantum inspired algorithms. So,
Yes.
you know, nothing too hard over there. Just easy peasy. And you really just came straight out of academia, too.
Mhm.
So, tell us a little bit first on what from academia made you go, like, you know what, I'm going to hop into this wild world of entrepreneurship and venture backed companies.
Sounds good. First of all, thank you so much, Beck, for
Yeah,
having me here.
we're here.
I'm super excited. Just to give you a little bit of background, you're right. I'm an aerospace engineer and a computational scientist by trade.
Mm-hmm.
Back in my graduate school at Rensselaer Polytech Institute in upstate New York, I was developing
So,
these large
mm-hmm.
scale codes to understand, for example, turbulence behind the tail of an aircraft. And
Mm-hmm.
now these tools that I was developing and utilizing, it's everywhere. It's actually also utilized, for example, as simple as your shampoo bottles. When you don't like holding it, the designers use it for that purposes. It's just that when you get to the scales of what we are talking about today, like aerospace, these take massive amount of time. So just an example, this simulation I was doing behind the tail of an aircraft for turbulence, it was taking 6 months on 250,000 computers, and I was like, how is this
Oh,
going to be helpful
oof,
for
oof.
anybody?
Yeah, yeah.
um, and to give you a sense, industry usually ends up performing 10,000 simulations or design scenarios for each component. And if you have millions of components, you do
Oh,
the
yeah,
math does
forget
the
it.
math.
Yeah,
Um,
you're stuck
Now,
forever.
the thought process was, how can I solve this problem of slow and expensive simulation? So my first attempt was with Oak Ridge National Lab and NVIDIA, where I basically brought these codes from legacy CPU systems to GPU systems as
Okay.
the data centers were coming up with more and more GPUs. But what
Mm-hmm.
we found out that even though we successfully converted the code and ran it on the largest supercomputer of the world, we were getting suboptimal performance improvement at best. And the conclusion from that study was that the math that we are using behind these tools are just outdated and haven't changed in past
Hmm.
40 years.
Hmm.
And that basically made me come to found BQP in 2020, with the goal of, again, same goal, accelerating these slow and expensive simulations so that it becomes useful for industries, not just aerospace and defense, but beyond, like just in overall engineering, and then sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and the more we are seeing now beyond engineering as well.
And for those maybe who caught, you said GPUs, the graphics processing unit. It's like the brain inside the computer.
Exactly, and that's
Yeah,
what we are seeing right now with companies like Nvidia. They are the ones who develop these chips.
exactly,
AMD.
exactly. Which is why they're making so much money, right, Avi? Okay,
Exactly.
okay. So you're like, God, this is all. This is just taking way too long, right? Why
Mhm.
has that been the case historically? Is it just a matter of, well, there's just not enough computers that are not fast enough? Is that literally the
That,
constraint?
that's the interesting part. We have
Yeah,
immense amount of compute power. When these softwares and codes first came up in 1980s, that NASA utilized for their missions, other companies utilized for developing their products.
mm-hmm.
Um, the math that we wrote in 1980s is the math that we continue to use in 2025, and that's, so it's not really a compute problem. It's really the math problem that nothing has evolved since then. And we have
Hmm.
immense amount of compute power. Yes, eventually there will be a bottleneck in compute, but that's not what we're fighting today. That's what we will be fighting like 5 years from now. And that's
Hmm.
why quantum computing will be helpful there. But even before quantum computers come into be part of these data centers, there is enough to be extracted from the compute by having to develop better mathematics.
Mm-hmm. Difficult things, at least to say. And you right now you've been working with partnerships with IBM, Microsoft, Intel, and so forth, just to
Mhm.
help with this.
Yes, so there's two parts to the company. One
Yeah,
part is where you mentioned the word earlier, quantum inspired approaches. So that is
yeah.
running quantum math on existing hardware, like the CPUs
Yep.
and the GPUs. And then there's the second part is when quantum becomes part of the future data center, which I always like to break the myth that it's not going to be just quantum in the future. It's a CPU, a GPU, and a quantum computer sitting next to each other, and which part of the problem has to go in which computer. That's what
Hmm.
we have to decide. So the second part is where we have the key partnerships with the major players that you mentioned, IBM, Intel. We
Hmm.
recently announced our work with NVIDIA as well, where we are running um, these GPU powered quantum simulators on their platform. So that's one piece of the puzzle, and the piece that we're commercializing right now is this quantum without quantum piece. So because a lot of the news right now and the stock market is, oh, if it is quantum, it has to be a quantum computer, but that's really not true.
Oh,
The field of quantum math always existed before.
okay. Can you break that down a little bit more then? What were you saying? You're saying quantum is not necessarily tied to quantum computing.
I would say quantum computing is not tied to quantum computers per se.
Okay. Okay.
And what I mean by that is the field which preceded, the idea of quantum computer is quantum information science.
Hmm.
This was the field that was laid out. The mathematics, which is different from what we use in our current CPUs and GPUs,
Yeah.
was laid out. And then the great scientist Richard Feynman said that, saw the mathematics and said, "Oh wait, I can do these calculations better on a quantum mechanical systems. Doesn't mean that we cannot do that on CPUs and GPUs." And that is very similar to the thought process that AI, for example, today we say runs better on a GPU does not mean that it cannot run on CPUs.
Mm.
So that's the thought process we are really trying to break the myth for, that quantum computing is not equal to quantum computers. Yes, there will be a major role for quantum computers to play, but before even that comes to fruition, there's enough for us to do in quantum math with existing hardware.
Hmm. Okay. Thank you for that to help break it down because we got a lot of founders on here who are doing complex type of situations and or trying to go after problems, and this is one of the hairiest ones. I would definitely say, give us an example. What's a tangible example? Maybe not. I know it's nascent in the company, so there's not. Oh, let me talk about these 100 clients, but give us an example to portray how this looks.
Absolutely. So we worked, for example, with a tier one aerospace
Yeah.
company who's designing aircrafts. And one of the key things that, as I mentioned earlier, is the product cycles taking immense amount of
Too
time
much time.
because how
Yeah.
much testing you have to do. Now, this is not like the example that I was giving, like a shampoo bottle or not even a car where I can, break these 100 times and figure out what's
Yeah.
working and what's not working. These are aircrafts. You cannot develop so many of them and then
Exactly.
break it down.
Yeah.
So you move towards virtual testing. Now, as I mentioned, just from my anecdote of what I was doing, if simulations are taking 6 months, you can perform the entire design that you have to do of 10,000 simulation
Mm-hmm.
for each component and then billions of components. So this
Mm-hmm.
company came to us when they saw our product, and we worked with them on a proof of concept where we took the important part of an aircraft, which is, for example, the wing of an aircraft, and they wanted to design a lightweight wing essentially. And what we did with them was we utilized their existing tool and then compared to our tool that we developed.
Mm-hmm.
And what we saw was we reduced the weight of the wing by 6% more compared to the state of the art classical tool. Now, to put it in
And
context, 6%,
that's a big deal. That's a big deal.
yeah, that's a big
Yeah.
deal because 6% translates to $3,000 fuel cost saving per flight.
Yeah. Exactly.
So,
I'm a helicopter pilot,
amount
so
of
yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Weight
exactly.
is the demise of everything for most things for performance and so forth. So yeah, and then cost it ratchets up. So yeah, though that's a big win.
And that is a win for, per se, as you mentioned, for their customer, which is the airline industry, because now they can,
Exactly.
that's big cost center for them. But more importantly, what does it mean for this tier one aerospace manufacturer is that the time it took for them to do this one simulation was 10x reduced. That means they can now actually do those 10,000 design simulation, make less mistakes and those less number of iteration to get to the final design, which we calculated saved them about 1 to 2 years in just the
So
wing
that's the other
development
thing too.
cycle.
It's not only you're actually getting to the solution, a much better solution, way faster than you ever could
Way
before.
faster. Yeah,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
the saving they had downstream because they were making less mistake, we calculated that to be around 1.5 to $2 billion in saving.
Yeah. That's a huge win then. Mm. Abhi, okay. How have you transitioned from being in academia to being now in business and in this venture world?
Yeah, because I'm running a deep tech company, it's very necessary for the founder and the CEO to have the right technical
Oh, for
background,
sure.
because then I can be not just somebody who's coming and selling, but also the chief promise giver, the chief
Yeah.
confidence giver for my customers today.
Yes.
But
Of
one of the
course.
big transition point was, which you are absolutely right on, is moving from like deep technical to doing what in business. Now, the good part that helps us to understand, both myself and my tech co-founder, who's the CTO, is that we are engineers, and engineers and
Mm,
entrepreneurs have the same commonality. The few traits that, like never say die attitude, make things happen.
mm-hmm.
We're frugal, but we get the job done.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that trait help. But I think one of the important transition point in our lives as entrepreneurs, and I say our, where I'm considering my other co-founders as well, who had similar journey as me,
Mm.
was one of our advisors and now board member, Mr. Vijay Sethi. He mentioned to us that you need to remember this line throughout, that a business is in the business of making money. So if you're not making money, you are in the wrong business.
Listen, Abhi, this is where academia sometimes shifts dramatically from business. I like that. It's in the business of making money. Mm, yes, indeed. Indeed. Okay, has that been hard for you to stomach or understand? Or are you like,
I,
okay, yeah, it's not about publishing papers. It's now about commercialization and where does the money hit the road? Or,
I think we took it to heart when this was said to us. This is back in
yeah.
2020 I'm talking about, but the execution of it is not so much easy, and that's where we have surrounded ourselves with the right set of advisors, with the right
Mm,
team members, people who have experience of doing these things, from the simulation industry,
mm,
from the quantum industry, and elsewhere. And I think that has really helped us, because one of the differentiation that we have, even as a seed state startup,
yeah.
is that we have actual real customers and actual real revenue, not just POCs and pilots and
Yeah.
um, you know very distinct, like customers coming from, one from aerospace, another from automotive, and another from energy and medicine. We are very focused, I think, in execution, and that is because we really believe in the mentor-mentee relationship, and that has helped us to make less
Mm,
mistakes and get to our commercialization goals faster. And every board meeting today we talk about, every leadership meeting we talk about our commercialization metric, because we know that that's really essential and make life of easier for us as
mm-hmm,
founder and for our
mm-hmm,
upcoming and existing investors, to put
mm-hmm.
in more money, because commercialization trumps everything.
I like that quote too. Commercialization trumps everything. Mm-hmm. Indeed. Okay. One thing I've been asking people as it relates to this, and it might be something you just were mentioning, which has to do with, oh, okay, we had to know that a business is in the business of making money, and we need to surround ourselves with the right mentors, advisors, and so forth to help accomplish that. What is your unlock? I've been asking this as like, what's your hack, or like, what's your unlock? So for you, maybe it's been this last year because we're recording this in December. What's been your unlock?
I would say openness to learnings. I think that is key. Being coachable
Mm,
was essential. Leaving out, especially I think this is true for my colleagues in the academy and the
yeah.
scientific world, having too much pride in the science and the technology piece. Um,
Oh.
so I think leaving those things out, leaving the ego part out of everything, and being coachable and being open to learning has helped me personally to unlock the possibilities of what's out there, what creativity we can bring
Hmm.
in not just our product. Yes, quantum already makes things exciting, but it is figuring out the right business model, engagement model, pricing model, there's enough creativity to be brought in that as well, I feel.
Would you say though that you were not perhaps coachable then, or that your co-founders were not?
Now, I think that's the trait we bring in,
Uh huh.
um, even from our past. That I'll give an
Yeah.
example. Like
Give us an example to paint the
throughout
picture.
my
Yeah.
throughout my undergrad, and me and my one of my co-founder Ruth, who I mentioned is the CTO, we are best buddies from undergrad. So we did
Okay. So you
our
guys know each other real well.
undergrad real well from Rutgers days, and we had a mentor
Uh huh.
who we got from our sophomore year, and we he was you know lot of credit to him that he believed in us as young folks, very interested in aerospace engineering, and mentored us throughout the sophomore, junior, and the senior year,
Great. Great.
and was the one who basically handed our degree at the graduation ceremony at
Ah,
Rutgers.
wonderful.
So like that, I think that experience with him, Professor Edward DeMauro from Rutgers is who I'm mentioning, um, helped us to be open to this idea of being coachable, um, knowing that we don't know everything, and the more you know, the less you feel like you know now.
Yeah. Exactly. That's how you know you're getting smarter.
Exactly,
Mm-hmm.
and it got us a lot of success during as an undergrads. We went into various student competition, research experiences. I mean, our resume was 3 page long even before graduating from undergrad. So that already like told us that the good side of when you're coachable, when you are hearing to people. And one of the learnings that I took from him, and which I
Mm-hmm.
followed to the T even to today, is always walk in the path of opening more doors, right?
Wait. Say that
So
again.
when you
Always go. Say it again.
walk in the
Work.
always walk in the path, walk
Walk in
in
the
the
path.
in the of opening more doors. So when you're making hard
Yeah.
choices, think about, okay, is this opportunity going to open more doors, or is it going to close a few?
Hmm.
So that's always a balance, especially as a CEO now. I have to make all the time, because I cannot do everything, and 24 hours is even less. So this becomes even more true now. So I think those fundamental thought process has helped us to be really good founders, and that's, I think, so one of our superpowers.
Oh, okay. Thinking of it, is it unlocking the doors versus maybe shutting some? Hmm. Okay.
Mm.
And that you're coachable as opposed to just going, hey, I can imagine, Abhi, for example, in academia, it's like, well, this is the research. I am right. I'm the authority on this. I've studied this 17 years, blah, blah, blah. So, blah, blah, blah. There can be a lot of that. Whereas I would definitely argue in the context of Silicon Valley and venture capital raising, it's like, no, we just want the right answer. We're ready for the right
Mhm.
answer. So what's the right answer? I don't care who came up with it. There's more of that. There's more of that.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Abhi, for one of more my interesting questions, what recently became clear to you? Not necessarily as like, oh, this unlocking of a business thing, but just as a
Mhm.
founder, as a person.
I think balance in life. So I recently got married. It has about been 8 months.
Congrats.
Um,
Okay, new, fresh.
Thank you. So- Absolutely, I'm still counting months. But the thought process that, and it's like I knew my wife. We dated quite a long time.
Okay,
Um,
nothing wrong with
but
that.
just this
Due
going up
diligence.
to the, yeah, no, it's definitely. But this thought process after marriage is, it cannot be about one thing or the other. It doesn't make my business and BQP any less important to me, but it is important to also know that you cannot be stuck in one thing. There's life outside, there's a life to be lived, and it's key to make an impact. You are sent, I believe at least, that you are sent into this world by some superpower to achieve some goal or mission.
Yes.
And whatever that mission or goal is, I feel I found my calling, uh, with what I'm doing. But at the same time, there is people.
Yeah.
I think people is who has made me successful. I'm very grateful for, of course, my wife, but also, like I said, mentors, my
Yes.
friends, my family has played a key role in helping me reach there.
Yeah.
and I cannot just be focused on one thing and not focus on that, or not focus, for example, in my health. So
Mm.
that has become utterly clear to me, that striking that balance is the most difficult thing, but we need to keep striving it every day and every hour
It
of the
does
day.
seem like one of the things founders get sucked into. I was just actually talking with one of them yesterday, and they're like, "Oh, well, this is my thing. It's all the company, 14 hours a day. That's my thing." It's like, yes, and if you are healthy and you know your body, you've got also your healthy relationships. Another friend of mine is doing what she calls like relationship gym. Like have relationships, make
Mhm,
sure you're having your social time. You should treat it like going to the gym. And I like that reframing of the
mhm,
relationship gym, your relationships
mhm.
gym. So, ooh, I like it, Avi. What's a new ritual you and your wife have maybe established to kind of cement this? And then we'll wrap it up from here.
I would say being regular to some active lifestyle.
Ooh, okay.
It is past year, I think, has really been tough with so much travel, and this is very new to me. Like I'm not been doing this for
Yeah, I
years, but
know.
recently, and now because of this, you always have some issues, nothing major, but you realize that I'm, like, for example, me, I'm getting closer to 30, and it is very important to have a more active lifestyle. It is easy to just sit on a desk and
Oh,
just
yes,
keep
yes,
working.
yes.
So I think the ritual has helped us to strike that balance of
Be
us
active.
being able to spend more time, have a healthy lifestyle, and actually that has made even my family and my parents and my brother
Mm.
more proud and happy than just achieving things on the business side of
Yeah, you got
things.
to have the healthy body to match all the gusto you need for the mind. My
Oh,
take.
100%. Because my mom said this, that this is going to be a marathon for you,
Oh, yeah.
um,
And you just
not,
started
not a
on, you're
100
on
meter
1 mile
race.
so far, Abby. Hate to tell you, but yeah. Yeah, maybe
Exactly.
mile two. Yeah. Well, Abhi, thank you so much for being on today. This is Abhi Chopra, from the founder and co-founder and CEO of BQP. Abhi, member of businesses in the business of making money. I love that. Who was the
Absolutely.
mentor who told you that? Do we have a citation for that?
Mr. Vijay said,
Mr. Who?
yeah, Mr. Vijay said,
Okay, we got to put,
Vijay Sethi,
yeah, we're going to have to tag him on LinkedIn. Okay. Thank you so much.
100%.
Have a good one.
Thank you so much, Beck. Really appreciate it.